Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy hot Wednesday to you. Y'all know I love it. I love summer. I love sweating. I got a run in this morning. I sweated like a dog, and I will not complain. I love it so much. I hate to be cold, and I love summer. And I love you guys. I love being in the Word with you. This is Tim with Tim. It's 10 o'clock. My name is Tim Harris, and we go verse by verse through the Bible. And we are today in Numbers chapter 21, verses 10 to 35. I hope you read ahead. You may have thought there wasn't much here, but let me point out a couple of things about this passage. It's sort of transitional in many ways, and it sets up the entrance into the promised land for the people of God. It just really sort of turns a corner from where we've been in the book of Numbers. Basically, they've been wandering in the wilderness, kind of just, going in circles, and that was, by their own the consequences of their own disobedience. It really wasn't a long journey unless you don't know how to follow the Lord and trust Him, which they proved unable to do. And so now they've been wandering for decades. But now chapter 21, from verse 10 on, it really shows a different kind of following divine guidance and literal forward movement. They're not wandering anymore. Now they're marching, and they are experiencing victories, and it's really pretty extraordinary. After all those years of going in circles, now they're actually moving forward and moving forward rather deliberately. For example, verses 16 to 18 show a really different kind of spiritual maturity for this generation. It wasn't that long ago at Meribah when they were murmuring and complaining about the water and literally everything else. But here, there's this beautiful just song of the well, where the Israelites sing. They all sing. Again, typically, it would be Miriam or somebody would sing, lead them in song or whatever. But here there's just this real beautiful way in which all of the people unite to sing about God's provision, which is strikingly, in contrast to when they all join together in unison to complain about everything. And so here it's just a very different picture of God's people. Now, the song itself, telling the story of the well, is, I think, it's a little ambiguous, but also kind of interesting and exciting. Assemble the people, and I will give them water. That's what the Lord says. And then they sing this song about the well. It seems to me, and I think scholars are on my side, it seems to me that the song here is telling the story of how they dug the well. At first, in the New Living Translation, I thought maybe they found the well. Maybe the well had some history. Maybe it was dug by, past princes or kings or something. But the Hebrew word there is lawgivers. It was dug by the lawgivers and the leaders and dug out by their own scepters and staffs. So it seems to me that this is the story of how they dug the well. And I love that. Not only that, but how their leaders joined sort of in humility. The leaders joined in the work and kind of flabbergasted everybody because they didn't know that they'd get their hands dirty, But it's a really interesting picture of how the people unite, leaders and everybody else, they unite together and dig this well and drink of its water. I love that because God provides the water, but then the people still have to dig the well, I think often when we think that God's going to provide, it means I don't have to get off the couch. He's going to send it to me, by Uber Eats or whatever, and I'm not really going to have to even get out of my pajama pants. But that's not exactly how God's provision works. There is provision and participation. And the well that the people enjoy is by God's provision, no doubt about that. And they sing and give glory and credit to Him. But there's also the rather glad acknowledgement that they dug together. They dug to get to the water that God was providing. There's just so many lessons in that for us, lessons for me. Again, you want God to provide, get up and dig a well. You want to complain of your spiritual thirst, you get in the Bible and dig a well. Get on your knees in prayer to God and dig a well, for yourself. God will provide the water, but you got to dig the well, I just love that. I think it's a beautiful fact of the spiritual life. Now, verse 21, we get to the story of King Sihon of the Amorites. It sounds exactly like what happens with Edom. I can't really say I blame them in the sense that, several million people stomping through your land, it can't be good, even if they all promise to stay on the main road. Plus, obviously the Israelites are an army. That we haven't thought of them as an army, and I don't know that they've thought of themselves as an army, but they're beginning to. It's certain that the enemy, the surrounding nations, see them as an advancing army. And so King Sihon's like, no, I don't think so. And, you're not coming through here. And then he, after that, goes ahead and engages in attack. He attacks them. Now, sometimes in the spiritual life, sometimes when we're walking with the Lord, what, is supposedly just a journey from here to there becomes a battle that you have to fight. And they do fight the battle. But notice how they didn't ask for the fight. They didn't go to the fight. The fight comes to them, so they fight. And in the end, they end up being completely victorious and take over the whole land. So it's a fight they didn't ask for. It's a fight they didn't even, they didn't choose it. But in the end, they still win it, and they end up with all of the Amorite territory. So take that, King Sihon, take that. And then they sing the song about that. The ancient poets write the story. Verses 33 or so to 35 tell the story of King Og of Bashan. Now, we read this in Deuteronomy, I think chapter 3, where we're told, King Og is this legendary figure. It's like, is he real? Remember, he's the one that slept in a bed that I think was 13 feet long. He's just this legendary giant warrior. Numbers doesn't go too much into that. It just tells us the story of how he is defeated. Verse 34 there, where the Lord says, don't be afraid of him. This is the first time in a battle that God gives that commandment, but we're going to hear it a lot in the book of Joshua. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. The Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. But this is the first time we hear it, and it's here, and it's in relation to King Og. They have every reason to be afraid of this gigantic goon. At the same time, when the Lord says, don't be afraid, that's not so much, an exhortation to forget the size of your enemy. It's more an encouragement to remember the size of your God, and God is bigger and God is able. And so they end up having victory over King Og of Bashan. This victory here really becomes a part of their national identity. Winning this battle forever changes the way they think of themselves. They're no longer, the underdogs. They're no longer the freed slaves wandering in the wilderness. They are now a triumphant army, the triumphant people of God. They have defeated King Og. And again, that will forever change the way they tell their own story. And I think it's really pretty exciting. I also like the way God, these battles just sort of seem providential. They're just lined up for them. And as I say, it's not even that the children of Israel are asking for it. They're actually trying to just walk through peacefully, but they continue to have to fight. But at the same time, I think God sometimes God will allow you to fight a big battle so that you will discover the size of your big God. He is just so big, and he is just so able and always going to care for you and always able to give you victory if you will engage the fight. So this is what sets us up for chapter 22. The children of Israel are, again, no longer just wandering in circles. Now they are marching forward, and they are marching triumphantly. And that's about to make some people very nervous, which brings us to chapter 22. We'll pick up right there. Chapter 22, verses 1 to 20 for tomorrow. We get to meet Balaam, and I can't wait. I love this story. So listen, have a great Wednesday. Stay cool. Stay in the Word, and I will see you in the morning, Lord willing, 10 o'clock for 10 with Tim. I love